Welcome back to Elm Elaborates. This is Season 3, Episode 2. We are getting the true story with Ben from True Storage. Ben, how you doing?
How's it going, Ryan? Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Ben, you and I don't go back a super long way, so I appreciate you coming on, and I just wanted to get your general story, just because I'm honestly curious. You and I got introduced through a mutual partner, Nate from Pro Steel, and so he was like, man, you got to meet up with Ben. Ben's a great guy, and they're doing big stuff. And so once I met up with you, I'm like, wow, these guys seems like you're like where we're trying to be at in like 2 to 3 years. So I'm just selfishly going to use this podcast to learn about what you're doing, what I can steal from you guys and implement. And I'm just really excited about today.
Yeah, me as well. Nate's a great guy. Pro Steel is an awesome business partner of ours. I love, networking. So when we got connected, that was awesome. I love where you guys are from. Your portfolio is fantastic.
Thank you.
We've been cruising along, doing a lot of fun stuff, staying busy. Our business model is pretty unique, and happy to elaborate on it.
Yeah. Well, perfect choice of words. Elaborate. So what is your number one asset class you're going after? Because I know you were dabbling in some different things. So as far as you personally, I know your team has different divisions, but what is your specialty in?
So my specialty is in self-storage. We do conversions and ground ups nationwide. Our portfolio is mainly east of the Mississippi. We started doing these back in 2020, I believe, was the first year of True Storage. And
it's a hard time to start.
It is. But the fundamentals in the market were great. And I think that's the kind of the COVID pop around storage allowed our principals to really grow our brand, own in on the product they were delivering to market, and scale it nationally. It's been a good ride. We're still very active in the asset class and adding more and more projects to our queue for this year and next.
Yeah, so when you mentioned ground up and conversions, have you been looking at recently conversions that have also mixed use portions to them where you're buying them and you have a storage conversion play, but there's still tenants in the other sections of the buildings and kind of offset the holding costs, if you will?
Absolutely, yeah. So a couple of deals we're working on right now. One of them has a grocery store connected to it.
Gotcha.
And then it has like 90,000 square feet of vacant space attached to that. But then it also has a parking garage under it that we're going to utilize for storage. So we kind of get creative with utilizing other parts of the building that, other developers might overlook or, just not pay attention to. So yeah, we definitely look for buildings that have other income sources on them. We'll buy a strip mall and do a box of storage and then keep all the other tenants. We've done various deals like that. We've got some really exciting new stuff coming up that we actually got some good progress on today. That's
nice.
Big deals.
Yeah, you were saying it was 500,000 square foot?
Yeah.
So how much of that is vacant right now?
It's about 90% vacant.
Wow.
Yeah. This isn't like an industrial building. It's a office building. So
Gotcha.
We're definitely going to get creative with what we deliver there. It's got a few different parking garages attached to it, actually. We're going to get creative with those, creative with the existing space, and we've got some parking lot space too that might create value in the future as well.
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, there's a dreaded 125 pound per square foot number that us storage guys need to hit, and it's basically your floor load, right? Because they would imagine you're storing 18,000 bricks in a single square foot, right? So that number, I would say it's probably over-engineered for storage. Normally people aren't storing stuff that heavy, but I don't make the rules. So I know office traditionally is not 125. Is this building spec'd out as 125 per square foot?
It's not. Not to my knowledge. Typically, if we do storage in, say, a residential building, it's usually on the basement floor,
right,
or in the parking garage or parking structure of the building, which typically are made out of concrete, so they have a higher load capacity. So yeah. That's the play there.
Gotcha. So what's the play if you can say what's the play for the rest of the office space, the areas that are not the ground level or the parking garage? Are you going to go back with office space? Is that something you guys are looking into?
I think it's always going to be an element of these projects moving forward. The towns definitely like a portion of these buildings to stay office, but I think the overall sentiment right now, and towns are starting to come to this realization more, is that office is never going to be what it was before the pandemic.
That's right.
So millions of square feet in certain towns have been vacant for 5+ years now, and I think they're finally reacting to allowing adaptive reuse projects in these properties for apartments, hotels, senior living facilities, all sorts of uses that can utilize this space and fill the gaps.
So I just want to back up there for a second because I don't think people realize what you just said. So when you buy a building, do you mean you can't build whatever you want? You can't just change it to whatever you want?
I wish it was. I wish it
Right?
was. But you know what? I've been looking at deals in Houston, Texas
Okay.
recently, and I don't know if you guys know this, but they don't have zoning regulations.
That is insane. I
Yeah.
had no idea.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess the answer to your question is yes. I guess maybe in Houston, they do have some development regulations that
Yeah.
make you can't do whatever you want, but you can
Yeah.
get away with a lot. But
Right.
no, and unfortunately, I think that was the biggest learning curve when I got into the acquisition side of this stuff is, we can't do whatever we want, where we want. And sometimes, you're in an industrial zone and you're like, okay, self-storage should be allowed here, but it's not. And,
Yeah.
Or there's a huge housing shortage across the country. You look at these office buildings, okay, we should just be able to submit some plans and get this approved. And that is unfortunately not the reality of the development world.
Yeah, it's some towns and counties, they have these TRC zoning planning departments that are very easy to get along with. They understand how things pencil and that, ultimately things have to make financial sense for any project to move forward. Mm-hmm. Then you go to other places and they don't really care about the economics, the financial metrics. They just know that they want this building to be X, Y, and Z, and if it's not, they're going to try to make it as hard as they possibly can. And then the property sits vacant for 10 years, and they're like, why has nobody done anything with this building? So I think that's one of the most frustrating things is like we try to buy these old abandoned buildings that have graffiti on them and literally trees growing out of the roof.
Yes.
And they'll shut it down. They literally will say, we don't like self-storage, and I get it, right? But like, we don't always just do self-storage. We do other multifamily plays. Like, we do a lot of different things, and we're open to a lot of things, and they just hear the word storage, and they're like, nah, doesn't seem cool. Like, we want a live, work, play scenario. It's like, well, yeah, I bet you would, and people would have done that here if it made sense, but this is kind of a bad area of town, and it kind of doesn't make sense, and nobody really wants to do that here, so please let us dump $5 million into this building, and they say no. So, yeah, I think that, like you said, that was one of the most, I'd say, surprising things I've seen on the acquisition side, because I am mostly in construction, but I do go to these zoning meetings, and I do deal with the transition process more than I think your typical, storage construction guy would, because it's in-house, but yeah, do you actually go to those zoning meetings, or is that somebody else that kind of goes there and talks with the town or the city?
I do myself, yeah. And we put together a team. So our civil engineer is usually there with us, our local attorney, myself, and then probably someone from our architecture team is with us as well, going to these meetings, talking to the towns, educating them on our product. A lot of people still think that self-storage is just like, the garage door style old metal buildings, beat up outside, run by whoever who's not there. And the product that we bring to the market, that you guys bring to the market, is definitely not that. So it's funny. Sometimes you really have to educate these people in towns on, our use, and then the fact that our use is very beneficial to like local businesses, and it's not just individuals renting our units. And again, we love individuals renting our units, but a lot of small businesses,
Right.
people who are, doing their own thing, use storage to help their businesses grow and organize their stuff.
Yeah, because they can use that as like a distribution center, right? I just ran into a guy the other day. He's basically running an HVAC company out of, like 2 or 3 of our larger storage units. And for him, he doesn't need power in his units. He just has a bunch of extra HVAC filters, a bunch of extra units, whatever. And so he stores a lot of his stuff there. He's not actually building anything there. But for that guy to go out and rent an actual building by itself, I mean, we're talking about that's $5 or $6 grand a month. 2 or 3 of our units, that's maybe $400 or $500 a month. So, it really does provide a service that I think some towns, counties, cities overlook. Even when we provide them data, like, hey, the reason why we're here today is because you're undersupplied for self-storage, climate-controlled self-storage in the area. Mm-hmm. So, like, educating them on that, because they might be like, well, there's a new climate-controlled self-storage down the block. It's like, okay, but there's metrics and there's a reason why we're here today. We didn't just pick this random building and say, oh, I think we can make that storage. It's like, let's run some metrics and see how much storage is in the area.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're looking at, that same radius as well, and it's funny, the metrics I feel like are getting tighter and tighter, and people, think there's an oversupply, but there's still a lot of areas that need climate controlled specifically out there.
Yeah, do you guys do any non-climate?
We do, yes. It's usually a play if we have a big parking lot space that we're trying to fill, or if it's a really, really strong market and the drive-up rents are there. We'll do, a few rows of drive-up out in parking lots, or, additional acreage if we've got it on site. An interesting one we did in Columbus, Georgia, we did tractor-trailer parking instead of drive-up storage, and that was a market that I knew nothing about before. I actually project managed that build-out, and we leased the tractor-trailer space incredibly quick, and there's a massive national tractor-trailer parking shortage out there. Mm-hmm. And I do think that product is going to start to become more prevalent in our portfolio and a lot of other people's portfolios over the next few years.
I agree. We had a conversion we did in Burlington, North Carolina, and our parking lot had a ton of spaces. I mean, I can't remember how many, but it was just under an acre, and it filled up right away. It was like, I don't want to say right away, but it filled up like 3 or 4 months in, and the whole thing was full.
That's unbelievable.
It was absolutely full, and we kept seeing like, oh, units rented, and we were like, wow, this place. And then we realized when we looked at the data, it wasn't units rented, it was the parking lot spaces, and we were like, wow, that is insane. So actually, I was just up there the other day, and it was absolutely 100% full, and I was shocked. We actually did some secret shopping, and there was a facility nearby that had the same kind of conversion play, and their manager was like, oh yeah, our parking lot is filling up. So we anticipated it, but not that fast, and once it opened up, it filled up almost right away. So you do some underwriting, you expect some things, but the market will still shock you. You never know what people need,
Right.
Like it's just crazy how some of that stuff plays out.
So is that cars, RVs, boats, or was it tractor trailers? What filled that up so quick?
Yeah, it was a lot of RVs, mm-hmm. Secondhand cars. I think cars that they're not the best looking cars, so I think it's maybe an older car that somebody still wants to hold on to. Maybe it has some meaning to them. Maybe it was their grandfathers or their fathers, but they don't have a space to park it. They're not run down. They're not like falling off. The wheels aren't like falling off, but some of that. And then there are a couple of like Penske's
Sure.
Back there, and I just saw a dump truck or two over there. So a lot of that kind of stuff. And there was a it was a big trailer, like not a small trailer. It was like a big substantial trailer. It wasn't like a tractor trailer, didn't have a top on it, but it was an open format kind of trailer. Mm-hmm. There. I think there was at least 1 or 2 of those. So a lot of different stuff,
That's awesome. And I'm sure down by you guys, you see a lot of boat storage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the actual, they call them wet slips, where you keep your boat in the water. Those are so hard to find and they're so expensive. I actually know a guy who bought a bunch of them back in the 90s, and he's done very well for himself because the population has like quadrupled here in Wilmington, North Carolina. So, yeah, it's really hard to find a wet slip. Even dry slips are really expensive. And then, I mean, your boat and RV storage, it's really the boat. It does really well. There's a couple developers out here that have kind of crowded this market that we don't feel like totally comfortable. Not that we wouldn't do it. Would have to be a really strategic play where it'd have to be like on the way to the water, be very convenient for people.
Right.
And so we feel like that there is still a possibility there. We actually identified a property that we were looking at the other day, and it was like maybe, but we really like the conversion play. We don't do as much ground up as we would like to. We're starting to get back into that ground up mindset. We've done too. We want to increase that on our end. It's just the conversions is just pencil so much better for us, I think, and especially with the mixed use and tenants already occupying the space to offset the holding and construction costs. We really like that play. So we don't do a ton of ground up because Nomad. The reason why Elm Builders doesn't do a bunch of ground up because Nomad doesn't do a bunch of ground up. So Elm Builders is actually just recently starting to look to build for other people. So we just opened that door, and it's been pretty exciting. We've got a couple of requests for bid, and so we're just going down that road now.
Awesome. And is that for storage specifically, or?
Yes and no. We just completed a office conversion across the street. It was a semi-Nomad project. Nomad took down the project, and then Nomad identified an end buyer. So we were working with the end buyer, not Nomad. So it was kind of a 50-50 split, but our contract was technically with Nomad. Yeah, we stepped out of our realm, and we did an office conversion. It came out really awesome. A lot of lessons learned, I'll say that. A lot of fun lessons, late nights, that kind of stuff. But it had a rooftop. It had a rooftop bar on it, and so we got CO, and we had a drink up there, and it was like we were like, we want to run that back right away. Like we don't want to wait too long to do another office conversion because we learned so many lessons. It's like, give us another shot. We want to do it again because we don't want to forget the lessons. Not that I think we will, but it's kind of like we want redemption, and we want to go back at it. And it was a really tricky project from the start. There's we'd do a whole podcast on that one. Right. I think we actually have or will. But, we did the office conversion, but we want to do storage conversions for outside clients and particularly new construction. I just think the new builds, it's a lot less owner decision fatigue because everything's already on the plans, where it's conversions like, what do you want to do about this funky wall? What do you want to do about these cast iron pipes? And what do you want to do about this drop ceiling that's falling down? It's a lot of decision fatigue. It's a lot of things to track. And because it's Nomad's in-house, like we do write RFIs to Nomad and we give them like it's called a ROM, rough order of magnitude of price. Basically it's an estimate from the hip. And so that's how we do our internal thing, and it's so fast. They answered the RFIs in a day or two because it's our company, and they know that we're going to look out for their best interests. It's not like we're just writing this RFI because we want to pump up the profit. We can't do that. So not that we would either, but they respond very quickly because there's no conflict of interest.
Right.
I think with an outside client doing a conversion, not that we won't, we most likely will. It's just we're trying to get our systems dialed in perfectly so that when we do take it on an outside client, it's like, hey, get ready because there's going to be a lot of choices you have to make, and you're going to have to make them very quickly. And we'll help guide you through it as best as we can. But conversions are not easy, as you know.
Yeah, conversions are a beast in their own. We've definitely had some go extremely well. I think we had a 200,000 square foot Walmart that we did in 3.5 months, I believe.
Wow.
So a lot of the existing mechanicals and everything
that is crazy.
Yeah, that's one of our star projects. And then another star one is a project we did in Greece, New York, which is our first big deal with Pro Steel. And again, I think that one, it was a former Sears department store, part of a mall. We did that one in, I think, 3 to 4 months on that one too.
Wow.
So that one was 130,000 square feet, and it absolutely ripped. And I think,
and that's not including permitting timeline, right?
No, that's just construction.
Gotcha.
So I would probably tack another 2 months on for permitting.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect New York to be, 3 months with permitting, but that's a metric we just started tracking in our construction budget because it's like such a hard thing to nail down. And if you go over on permitting, you have to tighten the construction schedule. So,
Yes.
it makes our conversions not look on paper like they are doing as well as they probably are. If we took permitting off, we just feel like it's such a important part to include the permitting in our construction schedule that we recently started doing. That's why when I hear 3 months, I'm like, wow, that's insane. But that's still very, very impressive. A building that big, especially in New York, to get it done in 3 months, that's awesome. And Nate did tell me about that building. So
Yeah, it came out fantastic. We've got another one we're planning in New York. That's that one I mentioned earlier with the grocery store attached to it. Crossing our fingers that one can be on a similar timeline. And they go quick. New York is definitely one of the harder states to develop in. We've got a ground up going on in New York right now that I can't say the same about on a fast timeline. We've owned the property for a long time, and we've been trying to get entitlements for a long, long time, and it's not been a fun process.
Yeah, born and raised in New York, I know all about that kind of stuff. I used to work in New York City. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely fun. Yes. No red tape at all.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I wish.
Yeah, we used to call it greasing the palms of the elevator guys because if you did not bribe those guys, they would stay true to the rules. They would not let you put certain stuff in the elevator. They would close the freight elevators at a certain time. They'd really make your life hell. So like we would budget thousands of dollars to give these guys kind of start the project, give them $500, be like, hey, my name's Ryan, here's $500, and then as the first time there's a complaint, right, you got 300 in your pocket, like, hey, sorry about the other day, and I've never seen a guy not take it.
That's so funny.
Yep.
I would agree with you. The elevator guys we've dealt with are some of the most stubborn on the job site, and definitely the most by the book subs we deal with.
Yeah, and it's like there's nothing wrong, right? It's not a bribe, right? It's not illegal. It's just like, preferences. They just allow you to kind of work efficiently, whereas sometimes they purposely make it harder because, Sally's not happy that, she hears banging, even though everything we're doing is within our rights. Right. It's like, your work hours are from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and they're like, well, I thought it was 9. It's like, no, the booklet says 8, so we're here at 8. Sorry, that's inconvenient for you. It's a lot of that stuff. I'm happy that I'm not building in New York right now, but it sounds like you're having a ton of fun with that.
Tons of fun, yeah. But a lot of the New York markets pencil, where other parts of the country don't right now. So.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the rates have definitely, I think really the whole Northeast, New York included, has really stayed consistent. So a lot of our deals are working in that area. And again, that's where our core market is too. So I think we can look at things a little bit differently than other people who are from outside the Northeast. But with all the red tape in New York, I do think we will keep adding in New York. And I believe New York is one of our biggest concentrations of sites.
So what is, I guess, I don't know anything about acquisitions, but I would imagine the number one thing I would be looking at is taxes. What does that look like for you guys in New York?
Taxes are definitely higher in New York. We're not super sophisticated when it comes to underwriting. We're really looking at, like, all right, we want to do 200,000 square feet of storage here. What are the market rates? Where do we think those rates are going to be in the next year? How many people are in that, radius that we're looking at around the facility? And that's basically what we make all our decisions off. And, of course, building costs. With the conversions, we're buying a lot of down and dirty style buildings that are trading, sometimes sub $30 a foot, and that's
really in New York.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely tertiary, secondary. Sub-markets of larger areas. We're not big city developers. We're not, in Boston, New York City, any of the big major MSAs. We're tertiary suburb developers, and
Wow, that's awesome. Do you guys have do you have an in-house construction team?
We do, yeah. That's another part of our business model that definitely makes us unique is we self-serve as our own GC. We have in-house architecture. We basically control our entire vertical from acquisition to CO, being able to buy out our own projects, control construction timelines, have,
Yeah.
one of our own guys on site every day allows us to, do those projects like I mentioned before in a few months versus
Yeah. That's awesome. So do you guys have like unlimited license like kind of all over the Northeast?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not super up to speed on all our licenses. I know our
Right.
architect has the, license that
Stamp.
yeah, right, that is transferable to all different states. Florida has been difficult for licensing for general contractors. We'd have to hire someone in Florida that has a
Yeah.
Florida license. So we don't have that right now. We have done projects in the past in Florida with some temporary PMs down there. We, stay fluid with each project. If we need to make a new hire for a project, we do so and kind of move along with the punches.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you have an in-house architect team, in-house construction team. You're on the acquisition team. Where do you guys get most of your capital from? Do you raise it from investors like 506c, or do you guys have a capital partner like a family office or something like that?
No, so we operate as a sole proprietorship. We're not a fund. We don't do capital raises. All our money is in-house, and
Okay.
that's kind of been their strategy for a long time.
Gotcha. Do you guys sell a lot at CO or to kind of recapitalize, or what's the game plan, I guess?
So typically we buy, build, and hold. We've sold a few tranches of our properties over the years. I think we've done about 50 of these things. We have, sorry, I'm looking off to my deal board. We've got like 30 open right now. So over the years, they've spun off a handful, and I think it's just a reflective of they're going to spin off when the market's right and when the right offer is in front. Like as always, everything's for sale whenever at the right price. It's never been a strategy to sell, but if there's something in front of us that makes sense, I think that's what our principals act on.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a hard cash problem to solve. There's got to be a history of doing pretty well if you guys aren't gonna raise capital. We raise capital. It's one of the most expensive things we do. As odd as that sounds, to raise capital, it costs a lot of money.
Interesting.
It costs a lot to actually run, meta ads, all that kind of stuff. We've got a company called GenRev that runs a bunch of our stuff. We have 2 general partners that all they do is raise capital. Because buying these buildings, converting them, holding them until they cash flow, it takes some time. We've actually only sold like 2, I think it's 2 properties out of our 12. Like you said, everything's for sale at the right price, and we've kind of held a couple, but we're just starting to look to kind of offload some of them, recapitalize, and do it again at a larger scale. I think is the plan for us.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the runway for stabilization has definitely stretched out too a little bit over the past few years, which is something we've been, working with. I don't know if you self-manage or what your management.
We do.
You do. Nice. That's awesome. And so that's a part of the vertical that we don't do. We have CubeSmart, Extra Space. We've done a lot of different third-party managers. The majority of our portfolio is CubeSmart. They manage them for us. And
what's that like? What's the handoff like? You don't have to talk about anyone in particular. Let's just say XYZ management company, right? Just so there's no hard feelings there. In general, what is that handoff process like? Because that's something we struggle with, and it's in-house, Right. So what is it like for you guys to kind of, I'm sure sometimes you hand off a facility and you're like, wow, that one's doing good, or you hand one off and it's like, wow, they've only rented 1 unit this whole month. So how does that feel?
Yeah, I would say a few things about that. It's hard relinquishing the control to someone else.
Yeah.
You always, as the owner, want it to be doing better. It's very market specific, and sometimes our underwriting isn't reflective of, like if I underwrite a property today, when we open it, say a year from now, market could be completely different. So it's always changing. And again, it's always a moving target with the management companies, and it's difficult sometimes, but I think, like everything, the long game is where people's sights should be set on. And, you know,
I agree.
in 5 to 8 years, that's when they really optimize. Typically, we do have an operations manager who kind of handles all those transitions, which is very nice. So I'm sure he would have more insight on some of the actual handoffs. But from working with our owner and getting his perspective, it's definitely always a moving target.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Ben. So how many given projects do you have at one time as far as like conversions? Do you guys do it by like square footage? Like usually we run, 500,000 square foot at once or 3 projects at once. Like, do you guys have a target, a metric, or like what does that look like for you guys?
Sure. Yeah. So we don't have any metrics like that, and we're probably one of the most opportunistic developers, I would say, in the Northeast, maybe around the country, right? Like our owner is very, very smart, very dialed into the type of product that he wants to deliver, and very confident in the execution of that delivery, right? So basically, we're going to do as many deals as I can send him that he likes.
I love that. That's awesome.
In all sorts of asset classes, right? Like, again, we're very nimble. We'll hire more. We'll, add more to the team. When True Storage was really ramping up, they were probably doing 20 projects, 15, 20 projects all at once.
Wow.
Now we're definitely kind of scaling that. We're not purposefully scaling it back. It's just kind of a reflection of the market. I think right now we've got like 8 projects in various stages of development right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. So if you got a project in, Texas tomorrow, right? How do you hire for that? Because that's something I'm personally struggling with is we have a team culture that's probably our number one hiring caveat, if you will. Like if somebody doesn't fit the culture, it might take them a while to get even on the team if they do at all. We hire very slow. I kind of want to increase that speed because you never truly know until you're working with someone for like 2 or 3 months if they kind of fit. But for you guys, if you landed a project in California, Texas, like how would you go about hiring somebody for that role?
Man, I wish I had a good answer for that. I don't. We're very much the same. Like we are such a dynamic team, very small team. We do a lot, but there's maybe 10 of us that are pushing all this right now. Wow. And I mean, it's really, we have a good team, and the people who are here love being here and fully support the mission and are very aligned. And we've had some ebbs and flows, and so we've got a good core, and building on that is definitely tough. And we've got a few coming up where we are probably going to need to make some hires, so I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah. So when you say 10, is that 10 in the acquisition team, or you're talking about construction, architect, acquisitions?
Yeah, that's basically all of True Storage probably right now is around 10 people.
That is outstanding.
Yeah, we definitely run lean, and personally I like it because every day is a different challenge. Every day I've got a construction brain, I have an acquisitions brain, I work with our lawyers a lot, I work with our owner a lot. It's awesome to be in this type of environment at the age I'm at right now.
Yeah, you are like a very advanced Swiss Army knife.
I like that.
Like, you know what I mean? Because if you're working with, because I do a little bit of that, but not really. I just know every time I work with a lawyer, I learn something. Our lawyer is great. If you have a great lawyer, like you learn a lot when you're just doing things with them. Architect, it's not in-house, but I learn a ton when I'm working with them. Acquisitions, I learn a lot when I work with them. It's just I feel like I'm always learning something, but for you to kind of be spearheading all of those, like I don't spearhead any of that other than construction. That must be awesome. And how old are you?
I'm 26. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it is awesome.
Yeah. That is fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been here now for about 3.5 years, and originally when I was brought on, I was just brought on to find sites and send them off to our owner, and it's definitely been a very fun, very fast 3.5 years, and I'm telling you, I'm sure I'm only going to learn more in the next 3 and
Yeah.
unlock more tools in my Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be where you're at now if you didn't show like actual grit and like determination. So that's pretty cool, man. That's great for you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate
That's
that.
awesome. So what's next for Ben, man? What's next for True Storage? What do you got going on?
We've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. Definitely a lot more storage deals, some fun mixed use deals, hopefully some apartment stuff.
Nice.
I think some really large square footage deals. Buying
Awesome.
500-600 square feet at once and doing big concept developments.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an exciting year. It's going to be exciting year for True Storage, and we'll definitely have to circle back up again and do this maybe in like a year from now, and maybe I can shed light on some of those projects that we've got going on right now that are really kind of hush-hush, and maybe some of them will be CO'd.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, that would be really cool. We'll probably be somewhere totally different. You guys will probably be somewhere totally different, and it would be awesome to reconnect and hopefully do a project together. Who knows?
Absolutely.
That would be really awesome. And so, yeah, I just appreciate your time and connecting, and yeah, I just wish you guys the best.
Awesome. All the same to you guys. I'm excited for the next year and excited to stay connected, and I really appreciate you guys having me on today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ryan.